Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a positive and productive day so far. My name is Kel with the Planner Isle, and today I'm doing a detailed walkthrough of my 2025 planner setup and walking through all of the ways I'm planning on using each of my sections to make life a little easier and a lot more functional in the new year. I am changing quite a few things for 2025. This year my routine worked well, but I really wanted to simplify things even more for next year, so my sections and inserts and things are really centered around that. I'm not going to go into too much detail discussing this year's setup since this video is really focusing on my setup for 2025, but if you do want to see my 2024 setup video, I'll make sure to link it down below. As always, I'll include the links to the products I use in the description, and make sure to leave me a comment with any questions or topics you'd like for me to include in my next video. Without further ado, let's hop in. So I'm in a new planner for 2025. This is the Louis Vuitton GM or Large Agenda in Damier Ebene. Last year I was in the monogram, but I really like the dark chocolate interior of this one, so I decided to use this as my main agenda, and my monogram cover will serve as my business planner, which I'll be setting up in a couple of weeks. These agendas are some of my favorite. The cover is a semi-smooth canvas, so it's really easy to take care of. It doesn't get damaged easily, and you don't have to baby it as much, which is great for those who like to take their planners on the go. If you're not familiar with these agendas, the layout is really simple. There's not a lot of extra pockets or design or anything. It's a nice basic design. It comes with 25mm gold rings, which is a pretty standard size. You have enough space to hold a good amount of inserts, but it doesn't feel too bulky. It's a nice balance between size and functionality, which is one of the main things that I consider when choosing any planner cover. This is A5 size, and if you've watched my videos before, you know that that's really the only size I plan in. It gives me all the space I need to write and make lists, take notes, and really gives me the flexibility that smaller agendas just don't have. It also can end up saving you space in a lot of ways. Because you're able to fit more on one page, you don't need as much paper, which limits a lot of bulk that you can see when trying to fit a lot of information into a smaller planner like personal or A6 size. So opening my agenda up, my color theme hasn't really changed. I'm still using dark neutrals with gray, white, and black as my primary colors. Looking at the front section first, in the back secretarial pocket, I have this dashboard by Planner Press. This was my front dashboard for a while this year. I cut it down to slide into the back, and I mainly just use it for a little background decor to break up some of the brown. In the front pocket, I have my routine card that has my daily morning, evening, and weekend routines. I made this myself, and I just printed it on some cardstock that I picked up at Michael's. And then in my passport pocket here, I have a large thank you card from Poi & Hun that came with a past order. Because this pocket is tall, I just taped some cardstock to the bottom here just to give it a little more height so everything looks balanced when my agenda is open. This is a monthly intentions card by Infinite Lotus. We get one of these each month in their monthly deluxe box. Each month, the card has a design and 3 intentions that fit the month. With this month being December, the card itself is a deep green, and the 3 intentions are send thoughtful notes or gifts, savor the season, and practice generosity. I love these cards, and I really like that there's different intentions each month. It's an easy way to add some meaningful messaging and a little decor without taking away from the simplicity that I personally love of the cover itself. So that's all I have in my front pockets. Moving on to my rings, similar to previous years, I decided to go with a layered front again. I just love that layers give you texture and depth without having to do a whole lot. This dashboard is by Infinite Lotus. It's a super thin matte vellum that says this is just the beginning and it only gets better from here. I have used this previously as my motivation page, but this is one of my favorite quotes and it really fits my mood and plans for 2025. It's layered layered over this novella half-page dashboard by Cloth and Paper. This came paired with a different dashboard, but I like the way that these two look paired together. And then they're both layered over this seasonal dashboard by Infinite Lotus, and this is also another item that they send each month in their deluxe box subscription. So typically, I don't change out my dashboards in the front of my agendas. Usually, whatever dashboard I choose will be the one that ends up staying there for the year. But Infinite Lotus has been sending these beautiful dashboards that embody the upcoming month so well, and each one they've sent so far has looked really nice in the front of my planner, so I plan to continue to change these out monthly with the new covers that we receive. If there's a month that I don't like, I'll end up using this gallery dashboard by Cloth and Paper. I love the earthy colors on this one, and it makes a perfect base and background against the dark brown of the agenda. All three of these are layered together with this matte black ollie clip, and that's the view that you see when you open my agenda. I went back and forth so much about what all to have in the front, but my priority next year is to really focus on simplifying my routine as much as possible, so this is ultimately the look that I landed on for 2025. So flipping over, you have my task card holder. This is the exact same setup that I'm using this year. My work, home, and business tasks haven't really changed much in terms of the task items that I need to complete. Many of you guys have asked where I purchased these cards from. I did get them from Poi and Hun, but I haven't seen them for sale in a while. Every now and then, these cards pop up on some of the seller sites like Mercari or eBay or something, so if you do want these, definitely keep an eye out for them there. If you want to use this system, it's a great tool to have as a visual reminder for things you need to complete. You can really use any blank card you want to, and then I just print it directly on a few page flags and stuck them on here. I need to reprint most of these. You can see after a year the ink is kind of coming off, but I reference this quite a bit. I have one for work tasks, one for home, and then the to-do one is where I list my business tasks. I don't use these flags in my weekly section. I have different ones for that, which I'll show you in just a second. These are more for reference or reminders as I open my planner each day. I have two little journaling cards here, and then flipping over, same as last year, I have a picture of Luna Lovegood, my crazy kitty cat who just turned 7 a couple months ago. You may or may not see her in this video, but she does like making appearances from time to time. Here I have my 2025 dashboard. The top layer is from the Dashboard Duo set by Rosie Papetree. This overlay vellum is from their 2023 collection, and then I made this bottom dashboard myself and just printed it on some cardstock. And then the last page in the front here is my motivation page, which I have in all of my planners. This year, I'm using this beige linen dashboard by Crossbow Planner Co. I'm not going to read all this, but feel free to pause the screen if you want to. But I love having a dashboard before my schedule that brings a little positivity and affirmation before I start my day. I love the wording here. It's all about the benefit of planning and how it's essential to overall success. Such a potent message and a great one to have for the new year. So that's all I have in the front of my agenda or my pre-planned portion. Now let's move into my sections, which is where the bulk of planning happens. So the first section is my overview section, and this is where I house my yearly, quarterly, and monthly overview spreads. This year, I had this section separated with dividers, but for 2025, I wanted a much more minimal look, so I decided to use this overview dry erase dashboard by Cloth and Paper. I use this as a divider of sorts, but you can also use it to write on or house sticky notes or page flags if you want to as well. You may notice that one thing I took out of my agenda completely is an inbox. I love the idea of an inbox, but I figured I can sort of kill two birds with one stone if I wanted to and use this the same way I would an inbox. One tip for all of these multi-use dashboards like this one is to take some scissors and cut them at the punch hole. That way you can easily move these around if you need to without having to open and close your agenda. Flipping over, you have my yearly overview. This one is by Rosie Papetree. It's a thin, semi-transparent vellum, and I just have it layered over this Dreamscape Clouds dashboard by Infinite Lotus as a backdrop, and this is where I mark birthdays, holidays, and other important dates. This year, I used a variety of colors, but next year, I'm using just a few of these transparent dot stickers by Daisy Papers. The three I'm using are Lilac for birthdays and special events, Nude for holidays, and Stormy Blue for financial deadlines and annual due dates. And then flipping over, you move into my quarterly overview. So this is the same quarterly I'm using this year. I use this in similar ways that I do my yearly. The main difference is here I include work events and deadlines along with personal dates as well. I started using a quarterly spread about 4 years ago, and I like that it gives you a snapshot of your most important items by period. So, where my yearly is good to quickly see how many major events I have happening each month, my quarterly gives me a bit more insight into the detail of those events, along with work deadlines, so I can better schedule all of the other things that I need to tackle for the year. The last insert in my overview section is my monthly. This is the month on two-page layout by Infinite Lotus. Like my quarterly, I've been using these for a few years as well. Here you have a section at the top to list your top 4 priorities for the month, a very minimal calendar, and lines at the bottom to list important dates. And then one of my favorite things about this insert is the back. You have 2 columns to list your tasks or to-dos you need to complete for the month, and then a monthly review section at the bottom to list your gratitude, accomplishments, lessons, and notes. So the great thing about this monthly is it's simple and detailed at the same time. On the front, you have enough space to write down your essentials without it looking too cluttered, and the back gives you all of the room that you need to list out and write anything you'd want to include on a monthly spread. For me, I use this insert to list what's on my yearly and quarterly, but I also include doctor's appointments, vacation, events that are planned for work, networking days. This is also where I list and check off my bills that I have to pay, mark days off from work, channel collabs, and really anything else that's either a special event or something of significance. Unlike my weekly, where I'm doing day-to-day planning, my monthly is essentially my one-stop shop to see my most important items at a glance on one page without having to search or flip through a bunch of pages. And because it is one page, you can leave all 12 months in your agenda at once without having to worry about creating additional bulk, which is great if you want to reference prior months throughout the year. That's one of the reasons why I love using one-page monthlies in my everyday carry. There may be a time when I need to remember what date I paid a bill or when I last did performance reviews. Having it on my monthly allows me to flip back through and see that date without having to spend time looking in my archived inserts or going through my weeklies. I have this little bottom tab divider here by Brooklyn Grace Co. that I use to mark the month I'm on. I usually just leave this blank. You can use this to hold sticky notes or page flags, or if you do a lot of color coding, you can use this as a key. For me, I keep a master key on a separate card for my dot stickers that I use in this agenda. This card came in one of my sub boxes a few months ago, but you can make a key out of any card or even a regular sticky note if you want. The top 5 dots are for those I use in my overview and scheduling section, and the bottom are for those I use in my content section. I also use a variety of icon stickers to mark different types of appointments and events, spotlight stickers to mark certain specialty events, and then I use super thin washi to block out vacation and breaks. Normally, my months do not look like this. December just happens to be a super busy month outside of the office. I'm in Vancouver through the 15th for the Eras Tour, and winter break at work starts on the 21st. Infinite Lotus has several different styles of monthlies to choose from if this layout doesn't work for you. I use one of their month on 4-page layouts in my business planner, which I'm posting here soon, but they also have a month on 1-page layout that takes up even less space if all you need is a basic overview like the front of this one. But this is a really great option if you want a more condensed layout that still gives you space and structure to list a good amount of information. So these are the 3 inserts that make up my overview section. Next, you move into my more detailed sections, which is where the majority of my day-to-day planning happens. This year, I used 6 dividers to block off my sections. I had one for overview, schedule, projects, wellness, finance, and miscellaneous. For 2025, I really wanted a much more minimal and clean look, so I decided to reduce the number of sections and move my wellness and budget sections to their own separate planners. That way, I could keep my everyday carry as simple and straightforward as possible. My dividers this year were by Infinite Lotus. I love these dividers and I've been using them for a couple of years now, but next year I decided to purchase these custom low profile matte vellum dividers by Gracie Edits. I like that these come in sets of 3 and I love that they're low profile so they don't stick out as far from your page. They're also super thin and really durable, which is a great combo for any planner, especially those that you're grabbing and flipping through all the time. And because they are so thin, they barely add any bulk to your planner at all. So for next year, outside of my overview section, I have dividers for my 3 main areas. Schedule, which is where I house my weekly inserts, content, which is where I house my content calendar and progress trackers, and then a section for notes and miscellaneous, which is where I keep a lot of my work notes, charts, and other things that fall outside of general scheduling and content planning. So looking at my scheduling section first, this is where my agenda stays open to the majority of my workday. This year, I used these week on 2-page inserts by Infinite Lotus. I've sworn by these for years now. I love the horizontal half grid layout so much, and it really gave me the balance I needed to manage both personal and work tasks. Next year, I did decide to try a new layout that I think is going to work really well, and that's the weekly hourly layout by Infinite Lotus. I did have this customized slightly. They originally had lines coming all the way to the top, but as you can see here, I like having space below the day to put little reminder stickers and things. All of their weeklies come with this cover page. You can use this for really anything, but I like to put a quote for the month on these pages or little affirmations or motivational words or reminders. And then looking at my new layout, I always choose a Monday start every year. I have a traditional work schedule, so Monday starts work the best for my routine. Each weekday has a few lines followed by a timed schedule from 6 to midnight, and then Saturday and Sunday are stacked with no schedule but a few additional lines. At the bottom, you have a section to list your priorities for the week, notes, and then 2 columns to list your tasks and to-dos. So the reason I chose this layout is because I really wanted a weekly that had an area where I can list out my meetings throughout the day. Previously, I would just write the time and the meeting on my horizontal layout, which worked fine, but because my job is really meeting heavy, I definitely think I could benefit from seeing my workday in a more chronological outline than just simply listing what I have. It just makes more sense to me visually, and I think it's going to help me plan other things I need to accomplish that day a little bit easier. So for example, if I have 3 one-on-ones Wednesday morning and then a team meeting that afternoon, I know that I don't need to schedule any important tasks that day and to push off any non-urgent tasks to later in the week. It also will help me see time blocks a lot clearer, which with my horizontal spread, I couldn't. So let's say I have 5 meetings on Tuesday, but they're all in the afternoon. Having them listed in this format, I can see that even though I have a lot of meetings, they're all in the afternoon, which means my morning is free to work on other projects. Comparing it to the spread I'm using this year, it's really difficult to see at a glance what my entire day looks like. I know that I have a lot of meetings and it's a busy day, but I can't glance and tell that my morning is free unless I read through the times of each meeting. It almost works as a mini Outlook calendar, and I'm really excited to see how much this layout will help me organize my day. All of the months are separable, so if you wanted to pair your monthly and weekly inserts together, you could. You can also keep a few months in at a time to allow more space for other inserts. That's what I always end up having to do. I like keeping as many weeks as possible, but the most I've ever been able to keep before my planner gets too stuffed is 8 months. Right now, I have 6 months in here, so once June hits, I'll fill in the remaining months for the year. Again, this is the first year I'm trying these out, but I do think that these are going to work out well. I've got plenty of space to list my focus areas for each week, as well as a task list, and there's lines at the top to write items specific to the day, so I'm really looking forward to using these. The next section is my content section, and this is pretty much the same as this year. This is an older dashboard by Cloth and Paper. It says, "I'm the architect of days that haven't happened yet." I've used this for years, but I love the saying and the design, so I'm reusing it for next year as well. And then flipping over, you have my content calendar and progress tracker. So these are inserts I made myself to help me keep track of my content schedule and my main agenda. I do have a separate publishing calendar and weekly content planner in my business planner, but since content creation takes up so much of my time, it's important that I have a space in my everyday carry where I can monitor my progress and be able to do some type of planning without having to always resort to my business agenda. So the purpose of the front of this insert is to give a quick overview of what content I'm making for the month and to make any notes here at the bottom of any important tasks that I need to complete for something that I'm publishing or planning to post. I do use dot stickers here as well, but here I use these by Nicole Hutch Designs. She did close down her shop, so you can't purchase these anymore, but since I bought a ton of these before the shop closed and I hate wasting money, I decided to go ahead and use them for this section. The stickers I use here are the bottom 4 on my key. Purple are reels, blue stories, tan are posts, and cream are for blog posts. I also use these spotlight stickers by Cloth and Paper to mark when I post YouTube videos. YouTube is my primary platform, so I really want those to stick out since that's where I do invest the most time. I'm working on having a more consistent posting schedule with Instagram for 2025, so having a sheet like this, it really helps me compare progress from week to week and month to month so I can make sure that I'm hitting the goals that I've set for myself. On the back is where I track my individual progress in terms of subscribers and followers. Here I just have a graph grid for each day of the month, and then I'll list the number of subscribers I gain or lose each day. And since YouTube is my main focus, I list the total number of subscribers I end up with at the end of the month. Right now, my goal is to gain 100 subs a month, so I have where I started the month at the bottom, where I want to end at the top, and then this gold line represents 100 subs. So once I'm over this line, I've met my goal, and then I don't continue to log after that. Some months, like you see in April, I met my goal in 4 days. In other months, like in May, I didn't meet my goal at all. Seeing it outlined like this helps me understand what content performs well, what doesn't perform well, and what you guys want to see. That way I can make sure that I'm creating content and talking about topics that you as my audience enjoy or find helpful. This year, I didn't track Instagram followers since I wasn't posting as frequently as I would have liked, but next year I am prioritizing both, so I'll have both listed here. Since these are one page, I do keep all 12 months in here, and then I have a few pages of mind map inserts by Cloth and Paper, and these I use to brainstorm and write down random ideas that pop up in my head throughout the day. I have a ton of these inserts for this agenda and my business planner. I love the design of the spread on the front, and the back gives you space to organize your thoughts and gives you a way to map things out once you've gotten all of your thoughts and ideas down on the front. Everything else related to my business is kept in my business planner, but I'm glad to have a section in this planner to help me stay on top of things in case something pops up during my workday. The last section is my notes and miscellaneous section, and this is for the most part stayed the same, but I did add a few things for next year. These two dashboards are the same ones I've used for the past couple of years. They're both from Cloth and Paper. The front is a thick semi-transparent vellum that says notable, memo, and ideas on the front, and that's layered over this really soft window dashboard. I just really love the look of these together. I haven't gotten tired of looking at them yet, so I figured I'd use them again for 2025. So first, I have a stack of blank graph grid inserts. I always keep a ton of these on hand. I love graph grid layouts. You can use these for just about anything you want. And then I have a set of 4 top tab dividers. These are by Infinite Lotus, and I decided to use these for 2025 because I wanted to have a cleaner way to separate all of my miscellaneous categories without having to use a bunch of page flags like I did this year. I do like using page flags, and I still do, but because I have a lot of separate things that I keep in the section, it looks a lot neater to have 4 dividers and 5 or 6 page flags rather than having like 10 or 11 page flags hanging out there. So the first subsection is where I keep these dated note inserts by Infinite Lotus, and I plan to use these for team meeting notes and other important notes that I either need to reference in future meetings or those that may have important information that I need to keep on hand. So this may be for meetings where leadership talks about changes with certain processes that impact me or my team, or if there's something I'm going over with my team that may be important to a future event, like performance reviews, feedback, certain outreach, or something similar. The second subsection is going to house my team checklists. So there's things I have to do with my team every single month. I have to do team meetings, I have one-on-ones, approve PTO, pull timesheets, partner meetings, and a lot more. Because I manage 30 people, it's difficult, especially during busy season, to make sure that I've completed all the tasks that I need to for all of my team. So having checklists for each task, it just helps me confirm that I've completed everything I need to for that month. There are months where I just can't get to everything. It's just not physically possible. But even if I miss something, at least I'll have a record of what fell through the cracks that month so I can be sure to prioritize it the next month. I honestly think having dedicated checklists in your agenda is a great idea for any type of recurring task. Writing it down and physically checking it off can just give you that peace of mind when things get super busy or when you're balancing a lot of asks to help you stay organized and on top of everything. The third subsection is going to be a kidney stone monitoring section for me. If you follow me over on Instagram, you may have seen me talk about my recent hospital visits. I unfortunately have been dealing with kidney stones quite a bit over the past few months. I will have a dedicated space to track health items related to that in my wellness planner, but in this planner, I plan on having a list of foods that I can eat and foods that I can't, as well as a few recipes and tips that I come across that I can implement to help reduce the likelihood of me building stones and some natural ways to pass them if I do end up developing any more. The last subsection is going to be my password and login keeper. I had a version of this in my budget planner this year, but I feel like there's so many times when I'm trying to recall a login for some site or recently my group number and member ID for my insurance card, and I always end up having to pull out my phone to look for it. For most people, it's probably not a big deal since a lot of us, myself included, have logins and passwords stored in a password keeper in an app or something, but in the spirit of saving time, it's a lot quicker for me to just turn a page and see the information there. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but if you do write down your logins and passwords, try not to write down anything confidential or particularly private like bank info or anything with personal information, just in case you ever accidentally lose your planner or leave it somewhere. For me, I'll keep some of my more common logins here to like my design software, certain insurance info, student loan contacts, information on my doctors, my contact and glasses prescriptions, and other information like that's good to have on hand in case you need it. I think having a miscellaneous section that's a bit more organized next year is really going to help me find what I need a lot quicker than the system I used this year. I still have my blank graph grid in the front for quick notes or things I need to jot down quickly, but having the subsections for my more specialized areas is one of the changes that I'm really excited for next year. So that's all of my sections that I have in my main agenda for 2025. In the back, I have this clear plastic folder. This one's by Plan and Stow, and this is where I keep the stickers that I use on a regular basis. I don't keep all of my stickers here, so the ones that I use, once in a blue moon or even monthly, I keep at my desk, but I do like having the ones that I use on a daily or weekly basis here. That way, I don't have to worry about not having the one I need if I'm not at my desk and I need to mark a date or something on my schedule. This dashboard is part of the Luxuriate Duo dashboard by Cloth and Paper. I'm not using the Luxuriate one next year, but I like this one as a sort of end page. And then the last item on my rings is this page lifter from Point & Hun, and I have this here to protect my pages and to house a few sticky notes. In the back slip pocket, I have this little folder that comes with your Cloth and Paper orders. I have a few stamps, a thank you card, and some stickies in here. In the front pocket, I have this journaling card by Cloth and Paper that says there's no right time. This is where my icon key lives, and then I have my calendar card for the month. This one's by Infinite Lotus, and I use this card to mark paydays and any events happening for the month that I need to pay attention to. Last is my pen. This is the only pen that I currently use in my agenda. I've used it for a couple of years and I have yet to find one I like better. This is the Uniball 1 gel pen. This one has a 0.38mm nib, so it's super thin. I love this pen. It's not scratchy and the ink is a nice true black. You don't get a whole lot of gray undertones that you can sometimes see with thinner nibs. You'll see this pen in pretty much all of my agendas. It works beautifully and I have no plans of switching. And that wraps up the setup of my main agenda for 2025. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I have 3 more planner setups coming. I know it's going to be a busy month. My business planner setup and my budget planner setup are both coming soon. I will be setting up my wellness planner as well, but since I'm in a bullet journal for that, I may do that over on Instagram or I may do a shorter video on here. I'm not sure yet, but if you're interested in seeing those videos, please make sure to do all the YouTubey things and follow me over on Instagram for the latest. Also, don't forget to leave me a comment or send me an email with any videos or topics that you want to see. I love making content around things that you want to see, so make sure to let me know and I'll add it to the lineup. Lastly, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who supported me and my channel this year. I know a lot of creators say this, but I really do have the best audience. I love reading through your comments, and a lot of y'all have given me some great planning tips and inspo as well, which is what this community and this space is all about. I hope everyone is getting ready for a productive new year, and if you're watching this in December, have a safe and happy holiday. Sending positive vibes your way. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.